Welcome back to the deep dive. Our goal here, as always, is pretty simple. Give you the foundational knowledge you really need straight from the research and make it super clear.
Absolutely. Clarity is key.
And today we are tackling something fundamental for genuine language mastery, especially if you're learning English.
Right.
We're looking at what might be the single biggest time sink, the biggest roadblock for so many learners. And that's the internal habit of translating everything in your head.
Yeah, it's a habit that feels natural, doesn't it? Almost necessary, especially when you're just starting out.
Totally.
Because, translation feels like your only bridge, right?
Yeah.
Between what you know in your language and this new English stuff. You hear a phrase, your brain instantly jumps to find the equivalent in, say, Portuguese or Spanish or whatever your native tongue is.
It feels like you're making progress, like you're checking your understanding.
Exactly. It feels productive.
Yeah.
But what the cognitive linguists, the people who study this stuff, consistently show us is that relying on translation, it actually puts a heavy drag on everything. It slows your progress down, like, exponentially.
So that's what this deep dive is all about. We want to give you a really comprehensive guide to understanding, accelerated fluency techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission is kind of twofold. First, we're going to meticulously explain the cognitive cost of this translation habit, like why it's a roadblock and not the helpful bridge it seems to be.
Right. Getting into the mechanics of it.
Yeah. And second, and this is the crucial part, we'll arm you with practical, structured methods, things you can actually do. These are drawn from the best sources on how to overcome it.
Actionable steps.
Exactly. We're basically going to show you how to, fire that mental middleman, how to stop translating and actually start thinking directly in English.
That's the goal. Direct thought.
Okay, so let's unpack this core problem first. For the listener, translating feels safe. It feels like the way to guarantee you're getting it right. So why do the experts, the sources, define it so starkly as this extra mental step, a detour that actually works against fluency?
Well, it's because it forces your brain into this really inefficient loop.
Yeah.
Think about the mental energy it takes just to process language, right?
Sure.
When you rely on translation, you're essentially building this unnecessary two-stage conversion system inside your head. Like you said, we can use that analogy. Point A is the English you hear or read.
Okay. Like a word.
Yeah, a word or a sentence.
Yeah.
Point B is the actual meaning, the concept you need to grasp.
Got it. A to B, direct.
That's the ideal. But translation forces this detour through point C, which is your native language equivalent.
Ah, okay. So the input is, say, the word tree. My brain hears tree, that's A. But instead of going straight to the idea of a tree, it first jumps to, the Portuguese word arvor, that's
Right.
C. And only then does it recognize the concept of the woody plant with leaves, that's B.
Precisely. So you've gone A to C to B.
Wow. We're literally like doubling the processing work for every single word or phrase.
Pretty much. And that's where the cognitive cost really hits you. Your brain is using up valuable processing cycles, precious mental energy, just on that conversion step, that A to C to B route.
Energy that should be going somewhere else.
Exactly. Energy that should be dedicated to, higher level stuff. Like actually communicating. We talk about this in terms of working memory load.
Mm-hmm.
Your working memory is like your brain's temporary scratch pad, right? It's where you hold and juggle information while you're doing complex things.
And having a conversation is definitely a complex thing. You're listening, thinking, talking.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. When you're speaking, your working memory is juggling all these things at once. You're listening to the other person, formulating your own response, trying to get the grammar right, picking the best words, maybe even thinking about your pronunciation, the tone. It's a huge amount. Now, add the extra task of constantly converting language, translating into that mix. You create an immediate bottleneck. Your working memory just gets overloaded.
Okay, that explains the hesitation, that feeling of searching for words. It's not always that you don't know the word.
Yeah.
It's that the word is stuck behind this translation firewall. And that whole process is hogging all the resources you need to just speak smoothly.
Exactly. The delay isn't necessarily lack of knowledge. It's the switching cost. Your brain switching between languages takes time and effort. And that cost, that delay, is what kills your confidence.
Makes sense.
When the conversation feels slow, awkward, kind of painful, that's often a direct result of your brain just struggling under this impossible working memory load.
Yeah.
You're forcing it to do three things: input, translate, understand the concept, when a native speaker just does one. Input straight to concept.
And there's another layer to this, isn't there? The sources really emphasize that relying on translation limits your actual conceptual understanding. It's not just about speed.
Yeah, that's a really big one.
Like, if I only understand the English word commitment, because I know the Portuguese translation, I'm kind of forcing my Portuguese ideas and maybe cultural baggage about commitment onto the English word.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's a huge distinction. English, just like any language, has its own shape, its own way of carving up the world. Its words carry unique connotations, specific ways they're used in idioms, cultural nuances that just don't map one-to-one onto other languages.
Right. They're never perfect equivalents.
Never. So if you're only accessing English through translation, you're basically trying to cram your native language's thought structure, its whole sort of linguistic blueprint into English words. And the result, it might be grammatically okay sometimes,
Mhm.
but it often sounds, well, unnatural, clunky.
Yeah, not quite right. And this is where you miss the subtle stuff, the nuance. I like the analogy in the sources about cooking.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you're constantly comparing a new dish to your grandma's recipe from back home, you never really appreciate the unique flavor of the new thing itself.
That's a great analogy.
If I'm always filtering English through my first language, I miss those little quirks, the things that make English English.
You miss the real depth. Think about idioms. You just can't translate break a leg literally into most languages and have it make sense
Nope, your translation machine just breaks down.
instantly. But it's not just obvious idioms. It's subtler things too, like phrasal verbs, get up, look into, put off, or how English uses modal verbs like must, might, should, could. These carry fine shades of meaning.
Nuances, yeah.
And those nuances get lost if you're desperately searching for a direct one-to-one translation that probably doesn't even exist. You have to understand the phrase based on how it works inside the English language network, not based on what its supposed equivalent means back home.
Okay, so the mission then is clear. Dismantle this slow, clunky three-step A to C to B process and build that direct A to B pathway instead.
That's the goal.
But thinking practically for the listener, say you're in the middle of a conversation. How do you actually tell the difference? How do you know if you're still sneakily translating in the background versus genuinely understanding or, thinking in English?
Right, that's a good question. The key difference is immediacy. Think about your native language for a second. That's our gold standard here.
Okay.
When you hear even a complex word in your native tongue, the meaning, the context, the feeling associated with it, it's just there, isn't it? Instantaneously. There's no conscious step in between. The thoughts are the language.
Yeah, I just get it. The concept is immediately immobile, no translation needed.
Exactly. So thinking in English means getting that same immediacy with English. It means connecting the English word or phrase directly to whatever it represents, the concept, the image in your head, the feeling, the action, without needing to loop through your native language circuits at all.
So it's like activating a different part of the brain almost.
Kind of, yeah. We call it conceptual encoding. You're encoding the meaning directly from the English input.
So if I see or hear the word tree again, I shouldn't just be seeing the Portuguese word arvor flashing in my mind. I should be actually picturing, bark, leaves, maybe the feeling of shade, the sensory reality of a tree.
That's exactly it. It's about accessing the nonverbal representation directly. Or if you hear someone say, I'm hungry,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be mentally translating I am hungry word by word. You should immediately access that feeling, that somatic sensation of hunger, or maybe just the immediate thought of food or eating.
Right, the concept of hunger.
Yes.
Yeah.
We want the English word to basically bypass a storage area reserved for your native language and connect straight to the main concept center in your brain, the semantic hub.
Wow. Okay, that sounds like a pretty major cognitive rewiring project, but I imagine the efficiency gains are huge.
Oh, they're staggering.
Right.
We really underestimate how much mental energy that constant language switching burns through.
Yeah.
By cutting out that conversion step, your brain frees up all that processing power. It can now dedicate like 100% of its available resources to the actual job of communicating.
Which means?
Which means refining your grammar on the fly, recalling vocabulary much faster, understanding subtleties better, and crucially, it allows you to engage in more complex, abstract thought directly in English.
So fluency isn't just about talking faster or having a better accent. It's actually about thinking faster in the language.
Precisely.
You become fluent because the pathways in your brain for thought and for expressing those thoughts are now flowing directly in English. There's no lag time because your brain isn't running this simultaneous translation service in the background anymore.
That's the absolute key. Think about it. When you're forced to translate, you can really only express ideas that you've already fully formed in your native language first.
Right, you think it in Portuguese, then you convert it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you start thinking directly in English, you allow the language itself, its structures, its vocabulary, to actually shape and refine your ideas as they form.
That's a subtle but important difference.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's the difference between just talking about the world using English words and actually starting to experience the world through the lens of the English language.
Okay, this sounds amazing, but also maybe a bit daunting. Like, it's a massive long-term goal. How do we make this accessible? What can our listeners start doing, like today, to begin building these direct pathways? If the whole idea of suddenly thinking fluently feels overwhelming, what's the absolute smallest, simplest, most manageable first step?
The smallest, most manageable step, the place everyone should start, is dedicating a little bit of time each day to internal narration.
Internal narration, okay.
Yeah. It's your foundational fluency exercise. It's basically just developing this gentle, kind of continuous internal monologue about what's happening around you, what you're doing, but doing it entirely in English.
So we're not talking about like composing complex essays in your head, right? This is simple stuff.
Oh, definitely not. Keep it super simple. Present tense mostly. Start with micro thoughts, like when you wake up in the morning. Instead of thinking your usual phrase in your native language for I gotta get up, just think the English directly.
Huh.
I woke up, the alarm is loud.
Okay.
Or if you're making breakfast, I am slicing the bread. Where is the butter? Ah, I'm looking for the butter. Just narrate the action.
Okay, simple narration. But what happens, and this is where I think people get stuck, what happens when you're doing your little internal monologue and you hit a word you just don't know in English? That's usually the moment the brain panics and flips back to translation mode, right?
That is the crucial point. That's the moment of resistance you have to push through. So if you hit an unknown word, the absolute rule is do not allow yourself to switch languages to find it. You have a few options instead.
Okay, what are they?
Option 1. Try to describe it using simple English words you do know. Use a little paraphrase. So if you don't know the word sieve while you're cooking, you just think, I need the thing for draining the water from the pasta.
Okay, describe around it.
Option 2. Substitute a simpler, known word, even if it's not perfectly accurate. Maybe instead of sieve, you just think strainer, or even just bowl with holes. It keeps the flow going.
Right.
Option 3, if you're really stuck, just use a placeholder. Think, I need the thingy, or I need that object over there. The main goal here is to maintain the English stream. You're protecting the linguistic boundary you're trying to build. Don't break it just for one word.
That's actually brilliant advice because it shifts the priority. It's about keeping the thought flow in English, even if it means sacrificing a little bit of vocabulary precision in that moment.
Exactly. Accuracy will come later. Flow comes first in this exercise.
Okay, building on that idea of direct connection, let's talk about labeling and reinforcement. You know, we often fall back on old habits like making flashcards with the English word on one side and the native translation on the back. How do we break that specific habit?
Yeah, those flashcards are reinforcing the translation link. We need to train the brain differently. We want to form a direct link between the sensory input, what you see, hear, feel, and the English sound or word.
So practically.
Look at an object around you right now, your desk, your cup, the lamp. See the object and then connect that visual image directly to its English name.
Yeah.
So you look at your cup, you think cup. And here's the critical part. You have to actively block or inhibit your native language word for cuck from popping into your head.
So it's active blocking. I look at my phone, I think, or say phone, and I consciously push away the Portuguese word telemóvel. I'm forcing a new connection, image, straight to English word.
Precisely. You're carving a new neural pathway. And some memory research suggests that engaging more senses helps solidify these links faster. So actually saying the English word out loud
Oh, okay.
while looking at the object can reinforce that connection much more strongly than just thinking it silently.
Yeah.
You're teaching your brain. This physical object is phone, not this object has an English translation called phone. See the difference?
Yeah. It's bypassing the middleman again. And this isn't just for physical objects, right? We need to extend this.
Absolutely. You have to apply this direct labeling to everything. Abstract concepts, actions, feelings, descriptions. If you feel relaxed after work, don't translate the feeling. Just think directly. I feel relaxed now.
Or looking outside. The sky is becoming cloudy.
Exactly. Or describing something. This coffee is hot. This chair is comfortable. And you can even apply it to planning simple things, instead of making your to-do list in your head in your native language and then translating it.
You plan directly in English.
Yes. Think directly. Okay, first, I will finish this report. Then I will call Sarah. After that, I will go home. Every single little segment of thought that you manage to conduct purely in English is like another nail hammering down that direct mental pathway. It gets stronger each time.
Okay, so we've got the foundation, internal narration, direct labeling. Now let's say someone's getting comfortable with that. How do we level up? We need strategies to tackle new words, more complex sentences, without falling back on that translation crutch, especially when things get tougher, like reading denser material. This is about really strengthening that self-contained English network you mentioned.
Exactly. The advanced phase is about using more structured techniques that deliberately force your brain to handle ambiguity, definitions, and connections entirely within English. No escape route back to the native language allowed.
Okay, let's start with using context over translation. I know when I'm reading something challenging, maybe technical stuff, or even just a novel with tricky vocabulary, the urge to immediately look up an unfamiliar word is, well, it's really strong.
Oh, it's immense, and that impulse is what you have to actively resist. Train yourself. When you hit a word you don't know, your first move shouldn't be reaching for the dictionary or Google Translate. Your first move should be deduction.
Like playing detective with the sentence.
Pretty much. Look for clues. Are there structural clues? Like, does it end in aid, suggesting a past tense verb, or cali, suggesting an adverb? Is it positioned like an adjective right before a noun you do know?
Okay, grammatical clues.
And then look for semantic clues.
Yeah.
How does this unknown word seem to relate to the other words, to the overall topic of the sentence or paragraph? Can you make an educated guess?
This requires accepting a certain amount of fuzziness, doesn't it? Being okay with not knowing the exact perfect definition right away. That's hard for a lot of learners, especially adults who like precision.
It is hard, but it's absolutely vital. Let's say you read a sentence like, "The politician's fiery diatribe was poorly received by the crowd." Maybe you don't know diatribe.
Okay.
But the context clues fiery, poorly received strongly suggests it's something negative. Probably some kind of angry speech, a rant, an attack.
Right, you get the gist.
And often, getting the gist is enough to keep reading and maintain understanding. That is sufficient understanding in that moment. By forcing your brain to tolerate that bit of ambiguity, you're training it to prioritize the overall flow and meaning, the inferential understanding, rather than getting bogged down on finding a precise, translated equivalent for every single word.
And often the meaning becomes clearer later in the text anyway.
Very often, yes. The context clarifies it naturally if you just keep going.
Okay, but what if guessing from context feels too passive? Or if it's a really important word you feel you need to understand more precisely right now, what's a structured way to define it that forces your brain to stay in English-only mode? This brings us to the English definition method.
Right, this is a very powerful technique when you absolutely must get a clear definition. The rule is, define the new English word using only English. Step 1. Do not look up the translation in your native language.
Okay, resist the urge.
Step 2. Look up the definition in a good English dictionary, preferably a learner's dictionary. These are great because they usually define words using a simpler, restricted vocabulary.
So it explains English using simpler English.
Exactly. But the gold standard, the highest level of this technique, is to force your own brain to explain the new word to itself, using the simple English words you already know.
Okay, walk us through that. Give us a practical example. How would a listener actually do this self-explanation for a new word?
Okay, let's take a slightly more advanced word, maybe tenuous.
Tenuous. Okay.
Instead of immediately thinking of the translation, you stop and force yourself to define it using your existing English vocabulary. You might think, okay, tenuous. Tenuous means something is very thin or weak, maybe easily broken, like a connection between people that isn't very strong. It's tenuous.
Ah, I see. You're using words like thin, weak, easily broken, not strong, simple concepts to build an understanding of tenuous.
Precisely. Or another one, maybe exasperate. You hit that word. Instead of translating, you think exasperate.
Right.
Okay, that sounds negative. It means to make someone feel very, very angry.
Yeah.
Or really annoyed. Yeah. Exasperate is like maximum annoyance.
Okay. You're forcing your brain to work within its current English inventory to grapple with and encode the new concept.
Yes. And this exercise does two amazing things. One, it directly fights that dependency on your native language. It keeps you firmly in the English zone.
Right. No translation allowed.
And two, as you just hinted, it actually reinforces the English vocabulary you already have because you're actively using your known words to define the new ones. It creates this kind of productive closed-loop system for learning.
That makes perfect sense. And this idea of using known English words to understand new English words leads really nicely into the next technique, which is building word networks, or what you called building a robust semantic network.
Exactly. This is about changing how words are stored and connected in your brain. Instead of the old habit, which is connecting a new English word, let's call it W1, primarily to its native language translation, N1.
W1 links to N1, that's the translation habit.
Right. We want to break that link. Instead, we want to connect W1 primarily to other English words, W2, W3, W4, etc., based on how they relate within English.
Okay, so what kind of relationships, what kind of links should we be actively trying to build between English words?
Well, there are several types, but two are particularly useful for learners. First, what linguists call paradigmatic links. Think of these as links of substitution words that could potentially replace each other in a sentence. The most obvious examples are synonyms and antonyms.
Okay, similar and opposite meanings.
Yes. So for a new word like elated, you don't just link it to its translation. You link it strongly in your mind to English words like happy, joyful, thrilled. Those are synonyms. And also maybe to sad, depressed, miserable, the antonyms.
Got it. So elated connects to happy and sad within English.
Exactly. The second useful type is syntagmatic links. These are links based on association or common collocation words that frequently appear together in phrases or sentences.
Ah, words that hang out together.
Kind of, yeah. So for a simple word like hot, you don't just link it to its opposite, cold. That's a paradigmatic link. You also link it to words it commonly travels with. Hot water, hot weather, hot sun, hot temper, hot topic.
Okay, so for a word like traffic, I wouldn't just link it to cars. I'd also link it to related concepts and common partners like jam, slow, stuck, commute, rush hour, heavy, annoying.
Precisely. You're building this rich, interconnected web inside your head where all the English concepts are defined, related, and reinforced by other English concepts. It becomes this self-referential, self-contained system.
Like an internal English-only dictionary and thesaurus combined.
That's a great way to think about it. And the payoff. When you need to retrieve a word during a conversation, the signal doesn't have to travel out to your native language and back. It just flows super quickly along these strong internal English pathways between the connected nodes. Much faster, much more precise recall.
Okay, this makes sense. Internal narration, labeling, context, definitions, networks. Finally, we have to touch on the classic advice, immersion and consumption. But we need to view it specifically through this lens of eliminating translation. How does immersion help break that habit?
Immersion is crucial, but it needs to be active immersion, not just passive listening while your brain is secretly translating everything.
What does active immersion look like then?
Well, take watching movies or TV shows. A good progression is start with English audio and English subtitles. This helps you connect the sound directly to the written word, reinforcing the link within English.
Okay, English audio, English subs.
Then, as you get more comfortable, try turning off the subtitles completely. Now here's the active part. When you hear dialogue, especially phrases you don't fully grasp instantly, resist translating. Instead, try to understand the meaning from the context. What's the situation? What's the character's emotion? What just happened? What might happen next? Can you deduce the general meaning of the phrase from those clues?
So you're engaging with the story's meaning, not just the word's translations.
Exactly. You're keeping your brain focused on comprehension within the English context, actively bypassing the translation route. Same goes for listening to podcasts, music, reading books. Start with easier material and focus on grasping the overall message, the feeling, the story, rather than mentally translating every single unknown word. Active engagement is key.
You know, listening to all these techniques, the internal narration, the direct labeling, using context, building these networks, active immersion, it really feels like they're all trying to replicate something fundamental. It feels like we're trying to get back to how children learn their first language.
Yeah.
Because the one thing kids definitely don't do is translate, right? They have nothing to translate from.
That is absolutely the foundational principle. It's the ultimate blueprint for language acquisition. Think about it. An infant hears the sound milk. They have no other language.
Yeah.
No existing mental dictionary.
Right.
So that sound, milk, gets directly wired to the sensory experience, the white liquid, the bottle or the breast. the feeling of hunger being satisfied. There's no intermediate step. The word is the thing or the experience.
And their whole learning process is just pure immersion, isn't it? Constant input, learning from context, tons of repetition. They're just soaking in the world, and the words get mapped directly onto those real-world experiences.
Exactly. When a parent points and says ball, the child is usually seeing the ball, maybe touching it, maybe watching it bounce. The word ball becomes instantly and inextricably linked to that round object and the actions associated with it: throwing, catching, rolling.
Yeah. They absolutely do not think, okay, this round bouncy thing is called pelota in my brain's default language, so the English sound for that must be ball. That pathway simply doesn't exist for them.
It's non-existent. It's a clean slate.
But that highlights the challenge for us as adults, doesn't it? We don't have a clean slate. We have years, maybe decades, of deeply ingrained neural pathways for our first language. Pathways that scream, if you don't understand this, quickly relate it back to what you already know.
That is the core difference and the core challenge for adult learners. Our task isn't just building the new direct English pathways. It's also about consciously, actively inhibiting our reliance on the old, established native language pathways.
So it's learning and unlearning at the same time.
In a way, yes. It requires conscious effort. We have to deliberately use our prefrontal cortex, our executive functions, to ignore those tempting native language connections that pop up automatically. We have to intentionally recreate that natural, direct mapping process using these techniques we've discussed, the internal monologue, the monolingual definitions, focusing on context.
And psychologically, this requires adopting what the sources sometimes call the fearless learner mentality, which, let's be honest, can be the hardest part for adults. We hate feeling like we don't know things. We value precision.
It definitely requires a degree of psychological courage. The fearless learner is someone who accepts that initial fuzzy understanding we talked about. They internalize the idea that striving for 100% word-for-word translation precision often leads directly to 0% conversational flow.
Right. You sacrifice flow for a false sense of accuracy.
Exactly. So the fearless learner prioritizes communication, momentum, getting the main idea across, over achieving perfect grammatical accuracy or needing the absolute precise definition of every single word in that exact moment.
It's about being okay with ambiguity, staying curious, and crucially, not being paralyzed by the fear of making mistakes. Like, if I read a complex paragraph and I get the main gist, even if a few words are blurry, that's okay. That's enough to keep the learning engine running.
Absolutely. Because the precise meaning of those blurry words will often reveal itself later through repeated exposure, through seeing them used in slightly different contexts, all within English.
That repeated exposure seems key, just like for kids.
It's essential. Children learn through massive amounts of repeated input in meaningful situations, not by studying grammar rules in isolation. For us as adult learners, we need to simulate that. We need to consciously try to associate English words and phrases directly with our own experiences, emotions, and the contexts we encounter them in, not with their translations.
So when you feel happy, you think, I feel happy, not the translation.
Yes. Or when you feel frustrated with traffic, you think, this traffic is frustrating. By directly connecting the language to your lived experience, you're essentially turbocharging the process of making English feel less like a foreign tool and more like a natural part of your own thinking, your cognitive landscape.
Wow. Okay, this has been a really comprehensive look at the why and the how of breaking the translation habit. We've dug deep into the cognitive machinery, established why translation is the enemy of real fluency, and laid out some powerful techniques, from simple narration to building these complex internal networks.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
So now it's time to turn all this theory into action. We need to make it practical for everyone listening. So we're officially issuing the 7-day internal monologue challenge.
Okay, I like the sound of that. A concrete challenge.
Yeah.
The challenge is designed to be simple, totally achievable, but it demands consistency. Here's the deal. We want you to commit to practicing thinking only in English for just 10 continuous minutes. Every single day for the next 7 days.
It's just 10 minutes. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
But every day. That consistency is far more important than trying to do an hour once a week. You're training a new mental muscle, and like any muscle, it needs regular, even if brief, activation to get stronger.
10 minutes feels completely manageable, even on busy days. So to make it even easier, let's suggest 3 specific everyday scenarios where you can easily slot this 10-minute practice in. No need to sit down with a textbook or anything.
Good idea. Okay, scenario number 1, the morning routine. As soon as you wake up, maybe when your feet hit the floor, Start the timer and begin narrating internally. Describe every little action.
Like.
Okay, I am getting out of bed now. I need to turn on the light. I am walking to the bathroom. I am brushing my teeth. This toothpaste is minty. I'm putting on my blue shirt today. Just focus entirely on the immediate present actions and sensations.
Okay, that's easy. Scenario 2.
The commute or daily walk. Whether you're driving, on the bus, the train, or just walking outside, this is prime time for some passive internal observation and narration.
What kind of things?
Look out the window or just look around you. Describe what you see in simple terms. The sky's clear today? Oh, there are many buses on the road. That red car is driving quite fast. I see a person walking a dog. Keep the structures simple. Stick to describing what's right there.
Got it. And a third scenario.
Simple domestic tasks. Anytime you're doing something somewhat routine with your hands, washing dishes, tidying up, folding laundry, maybe even cooking.
Okay.
Narrate it. The water feels warm. I need to scrub this plate harder. Okay, now I am rinsing the soap off. I am wiping the counter now. Ah, the kitchen looks cleaner. Again, you're practicing actions. Simple descriptions of state or objects. Very straightforward.
10 minutes in one of those slots. Totally doable. Now, the inevitable question, what if someone tries this, they're 5 minutes into their internal narration about washing dishes, and they suddenly catch themselves thinking of a word in their native language or mentally translating a phrase?
It will happen, especially on day 1 or 2. Expect it. The crucial thing is how you react.
Okay.
Do not get frustrated or judge yourself for it. That's counterproductive. If you catch yourself translating, just gently
Yeah.
redirect. Acknowledge it. Oops, translating again. And then simply bring your focus back to English. Start the sentence over in English if you need to.
Just gently guide the mind back.
Exactly. Consistency in trying is the measure of success here, not achieving flawless English thought from day 1. Remember, you're actively working on reducing that cognitive switching cost, and that takes persistence, not perfection.
And the long-term benefits of sticking with this, even just 10 minutes a day consistently, are potentially massive.
Well, profound. This approach, this shift away from translation, really is the secret weapon for breaking through that intermediate plateau that so many learners get stuck on.
It's not just about speaking faster.
No, it's much deeper than that. It's about connecting with the English language on an intuitive level. You're actively lowering the mental effort required to communicate. And when you do that, your real thoughts, your actual personality, can finally shine through much more easily in English.
Because you're not constantly filtering yourself through this conversion process.
Exactly. You're dismantling that barrier. You'll start noticing you understand more, much faster. Your response times in conversations will get significantly quicker. And you'll feel this deeper sense of confidence because the language stops feeling like this external tool you have to manipulate and translate through.
And starts feeling like.
It starts becoming part of your own internal mental process, part of how you actually think.
So the message is, embrace that little bit of mental discomfort that comes with building a new habit. It might feel weird at first.
Yeah, it probably will.
But trust the process. Trust this foundational principle. Stop translating. Start thinking directly in English. Take on that 7-day challenge, just 10 minutes a day, and just watch as those fluency barriers start to slowly crumble away.
And remember, every single time you consciously choose to form a thought in English, even if it's just for a few seconds, you are actively doing 2 things. You're bypassing and weakening those old automatic translation pathways.
Starving the old habit.
Right. And simultaneously, you're strengthening and reinforcing that new, robust, self-contained English semantic network in your brain. You are literally building linguistic freedom and cognitive speed with every single English thought.
That's a powerful way to frame it.
And maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to sort of mull over after this deep dive.
Okay.
If we've established that eliminating this seemingly helpful step translation is actually the direct path to genuine fluency in language, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other habits, what other seemingly helpful shortcuts might we be relying on in other parts of our lives, maybe our work or our learning in general?
Interesting. Like what?
Well, maybe things like over-relying on bullet point summaries instead of reading the full report, or immediately jumping to use summarization software instead of grappling with the original text. Could these efficiency habits actually be hidden detours? Could they be preventing us from building true, deep mastery and understanding in other critical areas, just like translation hinders language fluency?
Wow. That's definitely something to think about. What shortcuts are actually slowing us down from real mastery? Food for thought.
Something to consider.
Well, we really hope this deep dive has armed you with some powerful insights and, more importantly, some really actionable techniques. Now the ball's in your court.
Go put those 10 minutes a day to work.
Exactly. Give the 7-day challenge a go. Let us know how it works for you. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.